Caroline and Emma King. You're both very good to come in and talk today, and you're going to talk about a subject that's close to your hearts, obviously. Somebody who was very, very close to you, and I could see during the funeral, I could see your affection towards your dad. He was, he was your hero.
He was in many ways, and like you don't realize how much he did for like us all until he's gone because he's not there to do it anymore. Like he did things like that we only realized after just talking about like all the family together. Like he did things and he said to no one what he was doing. He just got on and did it for like he was always there for his kids, and he'd always send out a text to them, are you doing okay today, or or just checking in on you. um Dad was the sort of person, he was simple man, like simple things, and his love for his family, well, that came first.
Mm. And that came, I didn't know you very well before that. That came across to me big time during the funeral. Your love and affection for him at all times
Yeah.
came across. It was very noticeable, very obvious. He was obviously a really funny man too, I'd say.
He was really funny, and he loved cracking the jokes, and and he loved like trying to get a rise out of you. He
Mm.
found it funny, like trying to make you mad. So if like you got really mad, he'd find that very funny. Like he was just a character. Like there's no one like him. There's no one that will ever compare to him. There's no one that will ever take his shoes or fill his shoes, as people say. There's just they won't. They
Yeah.
can't.
And I suppose, like all men, the madder you got, the more he kept it up.
Oh yeah, and that was daddy. Like if like especially with me anyway, like he'd be there rising me about things, and trying to get, me mad. And I'd be there, effing and blinding and pacing back and forth on the floor, and I'd be there with the hands and just giving out like, and he'd be just sitting back, taking it all in, like, and then he just started into a fit of laughing.
Uh, and he was sick for a while before he passed away, wasn't he? He was in hospital.
Yeah, so um like to us, he was sick for a little while, but not like a long while. Say, like he didn't have, say, a long illness or anything like that. Like suppose like Mammy and Joanne and Joseph and Stephen, like they lived with him, so they would have saw him like day in day out. Whereas me and Caroline, like we have our own lives, like we're moved away from home, and and so is our brother Noli as well. Like so, you know, kind of to the extent we didn't realize, kind of to the extent, I suppose, how sick he was,
Mm.
or like, and I think that kind of still plays a big part because if I think like, and I feel guilty if I had known, or like if I had just seen, like, just if he was like just sick, you know, could I have done something more, or but like Mam and them, like they did the best they could for him, and like Mammy loves and adores him, and she she done what she could for him.
Yeah, yeah. And as like I said to you, it was very obvious at all times during the funeral, even when the photos that you sent me, I looked like you're all looking at him with star-filled eyes, like at all
Oh
times.
yeah, like I suppose like any child or parent, like they're your role model. They're who you want to be when you grow up. Like they show you love, they show you affection. They're there in your good times and your bad times. And Dad definitely was.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was my hero, I can definitely say, and he still is and will always be.
yeah. I could see it during the funeral. The affection was fantastic. And of course, we should mention, of course, that he was very young.
Yeah, so Dad died when he was 54, 52.
Mm, very young.
Yeah, so it is young, and like you see people, they're living up to their 80s and to their 90s, and like I kind of, not that it upsets me, but I'm just like, I count, it's like, say if someone died in their 90s, I'd be there, God, Dad only lived to 52, and I'd be there, sure, like they got 30 more years than Dad did.
Mm,
And I find that really upsetting, and I'm almost kind of a little bit jealous of the fact, to be honest with you,
yeah,
that his life was taken away from him. And he had so much more to give in life. He really, really did. He was a big character, and for him just to just be wiped from this earth all of a sudden, and like just not be here anymore, and just like you go out to the house and he's just not there. It's sad, and it's
yeah.
it's something that you just, I don't think I'll ever get over.
But I suppose you don't expect it in somebody so young.
No.
And something that came across to me, like I said, I didn't know you all very well, and we obviously got to know each other during the funeral, but he came across as somebody who loved life.
He did, and Daddy always lived life to the full. Like he always did what he could for other people. Like he always put himself last and put his family and his friends and everybody else first. He was happy when he was doing things for other people, whether that be, like making, say, stuff from wood, or or cutting timber for people and giving it to them, or selling them bags of turf, or like making plant pots. That was kind of his gesture to you to say, like, look, let me do this for you, like you've done enough for me, so let me repay it back.
Mm.
So yeah.
The funeral, then, if I go as far as the funeral and start talking about the funeral, and it's just my own interest as well as everything else, because what I find lovely is that we get to sit down like this and have a chat, and I can talk about the funeral, and you can quite openly say to me, look, Eamon, we like this, or we didn't like that. And I
Yeah.
know you would have obviously preferred not to have a funeral. This goes without saying, but still, I find it lovely to sit down and chat with people and to say, Joe, Eamon, when we came in the first night to see Daddy, you had nice music playing, or you made us a cup of tea, or
Yeah,
that was a help. And just for me to hear that kind of
it
feedback.
was like I don't think, Eamon, like you actually understand like how good you are at your job. Like you, the love for your job just like shines through all the time in what you do. And like we as a family could never ever fault you, because you were so kind to us in every way possible. And I think like we'll always, be singing your praises, as they say, because like only for you and your support, and like down to even the little things like that, we just, because we were just so heartbroken and upset, like even down to like say the prayers, or like getting the music together for, we just couldn't do it. And you took all that stress away from us.
Mm,
You did what you did with ease, and that put us at ease, because we let you do it. Because to be honest with you, we were in no fit state to do it ourselves.
and we better not forget the wonderful Harry, your husband, who was a great liaison in fairness to him.
Oh, he was like, to be fair, only for Harry, like, and even Mam will agree in that, like, he really did take over the whole thing with the funeral, like, and arranging it and stuff like that. Like, he just did what he thought Dad would have liked, and like, if it came to, like, say, something big, then he'd say to us, obviously, like, what do you think of this, or what do you think of that? But the smaller things, he just did it himself, because why burden us with it when we like, to be honest with you, when someone dies, you're in that frame of space, like you don't know whether you're coming or going. All everything is muddled into one. It's just like you're in a fog.
Mm,
You're in survival mode.
yeah,
You just like you just don't know what's going on. You all you really want is just the person that you lost back, and everything else can wait.
yeah,
And all you want really, and all I wanted was my dad back,
of course.
and I still want him back. To be honest
Fair
with you.
play. Because sometimes I know we'd have a family here in the funeral home, and I'd say to them, is there anything I can get you? And that's the one thing they'll come out and say, can I have my dad back? I say, God, I'm really, really sorry if I could.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I can't. And that has to be tough. And it's the first, I suppose, break in your family. And then he was so young. So there's a lot of kind of things, wasn't there? And
There was, yeah, a lot of aspects. Like, dad was just a pillar to us all, like his strength, his, everything. As I said, like, we relied on dad for so much, like, and for him just to be taken, that's what it was. It was taken.
yeah,
I know, like, you say he was ill or whatever, but he was still taken from us, Eamon.
very young,
He was very young.
very young. Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, he was only 52.
Right.
Do you know, like, he had lovely little grandchildren there, like, he had his wife, his own kids were like, even Joseph was still in school and stuff like that. And, like he still had his family there, and they all loved him, and
Yeah.
they'd give anything to bring him
Of
back and
course, to have him
just,
back.
have him back in our everyday life.
And I think Joseph has inherited his sense of humour, his good
Uh,
outlook on life. You probably all have, in fairness, but
yeah, it's funny you say that actually, because Mam says it all the time. She said, like, in each and every one of you, there's bits of your father's personality. She said, and even his look wise, she said, like, the boys are like him in different stages of his life,
mm,
And like she says to me, like, you're just a stamp here, dad. Like you resemble the most to him, like personality wise and look
Attitude.
wise.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah, attitude maybe
Yeah.
sometimes
She's
as
very
well.
110%.
stubborn, is she?
Of course. Yes.
You see there, Caroline, you're saying nothing now.
Oh,
You're,
I'm saying nothing. I'm just letting her away there now for a few minutes, see what goes on, see
you're
what she
bracing
says.
yourself. Yeah,
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 just
fair
thinking away.
play.
Yeah, Carolyn would be like that, you know. She'd be very quiet, and then she, you know, she let you talk and talk and talk, and then like if he's something to say, she'd be like, "Hold on here now for a minute. I'm here too. Let me talk here now.
Exactly,
Let me
exactly.
have my moment here. I've something to say. It's just important as you know."
And the whole send off, I mean, the neighbours, in fairness, weren't they fantastic? Like, I think that they really went out of their way to make sure that Dad had a lovely send off. They put a lot of effort in, didn't they? And I always said you have to give credit where credit is due, don't you?
Yeah. Do you want to?
You can stay talking there for a few minutes. You're all
I know, like they did now. To be fair, like you know, everybody really, you know, you could see that they were taken back as much and in shock that he went so quickly as well.
Yeah,
So like they were trying to do their best, you know, as well, whether it be dropping in sandwiches, dropping in scones, you know, dropping in dinners, you know, stuff like that. Like
yeah.
they really did rally around when, you know, you could,
when they were needed.
yeah, when they were needed. They did really.
And it was amazing, even something small. Like I was trying to reverse the hearse up to the front door of the church. Something I would normally have to do. And I was struggling with it. And one of the neighbours said, "Can I let hearse down? I'll drive it in for you."
And did they drive it
Did
in?
he? And he got it in first go. Because I think I was after making 3 attempts because I couldn't see behind me.
Yeah.
You know, and I suppose we're probably spoiled maybe a little bit with these reversing cameras. And the hearse didn't have a reversing camera, and it was quite a narrow space. And they wanted to reverse in as close to the door as they could. But I couldn't see out the back. So, of course, one of the neighbours there, he was a truck driver.
Yeah.
And he said, "Get out there." I said, "I'll reverse it in for you." And he did. And he got it in first go.
Jeez, I wonder who that was now.
He could really show me.
I say you were raging, were
And
you?
I started to give it down. Once it was sorted, I didn't mind. In fairness,
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be a kind of person like that now that when something is sorted, I'd have no issue with standing. If somebody
Yeah.
says to me, "I can do this," I'd be the first to stand back and say, "Oh, off you go."
Off you go, yeah. If it helps, like I can see that in you,
Yeah,
like you know, if you can help, like you don't mind who does it once, as long as it
correct.
gets
That's the
done.
most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and like even with dad and that, like it wasn't your everyday funeral, and I think that's important for us to say.
Hmm.
And I think we would be leaving out a big fact if we said it was your everyday funeral. So there's no point hiding behind it and saying it was when it wasn't. Like it wasn't your everyday funeral. Like you know, dad. If you knew dad, you knew. Yeah, he had a bit of weight in him. Yeah, he was a big man. Um, so you know, the funeral had to be dealt with in a different way.
But the one thing, like I said to you, that really came across to me was that he was a great character. And sometimes you meet somebody, and if they turn sideways, you wouldn't see them, but if they crosses a briar.
Yeah,
So I think myself, if I had a choice of having a bit of weight and being funny, I'd take that.
yeah, and dad was funny, and you know, like he'd always make people laugh, you know, and he was just kind of a comedian in our house, as
Yeah.
you'd say, like you know, um, but I don't know whether or not he was using his humor to kind of you know cover up a lot of things with his own mental health and stuff as well.
Yeah.
I say now, thinking back on it all, he probably was
Mm.
because you know he didn't want to kind of let us see really that he was suffering with his mental health,
Yeah.
and he was.
And men are like that anyway. They don't, unless their arm is hanging off, we don't complain
Yeah,
generally. But I could see by him, it really came across that he was just a kind of a fun-loving person and
yeah.
would be easy going. And he almost nearly had a smile in the coffin. He was still laughing even when he was laid out. He just came across to me as that kind of a person. Whether I'm right or wrong now.
No, you are right. Like he was a funny person. Like, and there will ever only be one Noel King,
Yeah.
you know. And I think everybody can agree with that if you knew him, and you know, and his own family definitely will all, you know, believe me when I say there is only ever one Noel King, and nobody will ever replace him.
Replace him. Yeah, but you
No,
only get one dad.
he's known everywhere. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah.
like that funeral. Everyone came from every corner of the county. It's just crazy. Like
And did you find the huge turnout? Was that
something I've never seen in my life.
was that a comfort? Like,
In a way, yeah, because people came and told us stories then as well
yeah,
about that, which was
yeah,
very nice.
yeah,
But even when we had to ask for a break, when people were coming to sympathise, it was like, and the queue was outside. It was just amazing,
yeah.
and they all came just to see. dad and pay their respects,
Correct.
which is something that I always say is like, thanks for
Yeah.
doing that. Thanks for coming and doing that and
And I
waiting
often,
for so long.
but I often think too that maybe somebody would come in, like you could be very sad. When you say when you come in and see dad first, you may be a little bit sad,
Yeah.
and then somebody would come in and say, he was playing hurling with me 5 years ago and he broke my leg. And then you'll turn to him and say, "God, I didn't realize he broke your man's leg." You're laughing then, and
Yeah.
you're kind of moved on to the next stage, and
But any story anyone ever kind of told us is always you're in the pub having a pint or having the laugh and the crack, and that's what dad like.
And I was just thinking this, eh?
yeah.
And that's what it was.
Well, I was thinking the same, but there's an old saying.
Yeah, but you were being polite about it, Eamon.
There's an old saying: you never get shot for what you have in your head.
Or go up there and go up there and and have a song. He'll tell you to sing a song for us.
Was he good to sing? He was.
No, he's asked everyone else to do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was like me, so I always say the only singer in my family was the Stone Machine. And since the funeral, then life has changed.
Change for everyone though, hasn't it? In every aspect, like
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
it's just
we're still
like,
grieving.
yeah,
We'll always be grieving. We're just
yeah,
learning how to cope
yeah,
more so and trying to get on it as
yeah.
best we can.
And
I
this
You
to say you don't obviously get over it.
know?
you
You just
just
adjust and learn to live with life.
Yeah.
you just I suppose you kind of adapt to a new life, and people would often say to me, like, God, Emma, you're very quiet in yourself, or, you're not yourself, or stuff like that. And what people need to realize is when my dad died and I saw him going down the ground, I lost a big part of myself that day. And I'm now a new version of myself, and I'm trying my best to figure out what that new version is. Grief, it might be the same word used to express, but it's a different journey for each and every single person that has to go through it. No two journeys are the same. They just aren't, because the circumstances are different. The feelings that you feel, like, they're just so raw, and it's like a heavy feeling in your stomach, and all these emotions, like, they all come in different ways. Like, it could be just out, you know. I know one day, like, it was only back there a few weeks ago. Dad loved going into Lidl and buying. Do you know, in the middle aisle sections there would be like all the tools
It's
and
called the men's section.
the men's section. All right, okay. But he loved buying all the, like, could be different tools and wrenches and stuff. And I remember going in to Lidl and seeing all that there, and I was like, Jesus, if that was Dad now, I said he'd be in here. He'd have Mam up in the car and waiting for Lidl to open 8 o'clock in the morning, like. So he'd be the first one in there to get what he needed, and he'd
Made it
bring
happen.
it home, and he'd play with it in the shed, and he'd, be making things, and he was happy out.
Yeah.
But it's them little things that they upset you in one way, but they bring you comfort in another way,
By the way, yeah.
because they're they're making you relive memories that are suppressed.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know, like, everyone's journey is different with grief, and no two people's are the same. But, like, my best friend Sarah, she lost her dad, or her brother, 5 days before I lost dad. Now he was only young and he died of cancer. He left behind 4 beautiful kids, but we find it kind of coincidental, I should say, that two people that we adore so much, and were big parts of our lives, died so close together. And, we'd always say to each other, look, I wonder, did that happen? Because, then we'd have each other, so that if we were feeling down, whatever, the other person knew exactly what we're feeling. And, we could go to someone then that was outside the family, and we could talk about it to each other and not have to worry about upsetting someone in the family, because everyone's going through their own stuff. And the last thing you want to be doing is putting your worries on top of them.
And to talk about stuff, I think is a very, very important thing, isn't it? To be able to talk and mention dad's name and
Yeah, it's just, I think keeping his memory alive is a big thing to us, and everybody talks about him, obviously, when the funeral's going on, and for, the months of mine and stuff. And then it quietens down. People kind of just move on. And I'm still here, like, kind of some days, and I be back there in reliving the whole funeral thing. And I just, like, how can you move on? But I don't blame people for not bringing him up or anything like that. But people, I think, are afraid to kind of mention him, because they might think you don't want to talk about him, or
it's
it's
going to
too
upset
hard.
you. Yeah.
But it brings us great comfort.
of course, to talk about him.
We
Yeah,
always talk about that.
Yeah,
Always.
and to hear stories
He's
about
still
him.
here.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
always
correct.
speak
Yeah,
about him.
yeah,
He's still here, isn't it? At
yeah,
times.
and to hear stories about him, I'm sure
It's
is a
like
big
his
comfort
passing is after bringing us as a family a little bit closer.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we all kind of speak to each other when there's something wrong.
mm,
And that's kind of something that is nice.
brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, and I say you were a close family.
Yeah, we were a close
I'd
family, but
imagine
it
that
just makes us that little
even
bit
closer
closer.
again. Yeah, which is brilliant,
And it's
isn't it?
okay for us to talk and say, look, something's wrong, like
Yeah,
regarding if we're sad over something.
yeah,
So someone else is going to come over and comfort you.
yeah, brilliant.
And it's like, yeah,
Brilliant,
everything's going
yeah.
to be all right, you know.
Absolutely brilliant. Fair play, yeah. Because I think talking about it is obviously a huge help,
Yeah, it
isn't
is.
it? I often even said,
I think it's our way to understand and just to figure out how we're all getting on in a way.
yeah,
It's kind of our way of checking up on people as well.
brilliant, brilliant, yeah, checking on each other.
Yeah,
And after it's even important, if you have an issue with somebody, to go and speak to the person you have the issue with
of
rather than
course.
talk about them.
That's the way I am. I
And yeah,
speak straight to you.
but you might solve it then, like,
Yeah,
whereas just talking
yeah,
about them is only kind of adding fuel to
yeah.
the fire,
Oh, of
isn't
course it is. Getting in more trouble.
it? I really appreciate you coming in, Forty. Did you want to ask me anything when you're here?
not that I can think of the
No,
top of
you're really expecting to be asked questions rather than answer them, right? Most people are, in fact.
yeah.
And then, yes, you wanted to say about that or get anything else in?
I don't really know. Like, he was just a full of life sort of a person, and he loved the simple things and he loved making things from wood and stuff like that. And he wasn't into big extravagant. Can't even pronounce the word. He wasn't into glamorous things or anything like that.
Yeah,
So he was just a simple man, and he liked the simple things in life.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And you'll miss him as long as time goes on.
We will, because I know people say, it's nearly been 2 years now, and surely you should be getting over it by now or whatever. But I feel as the time has gone on, it's actually got harder for me anyway, because I'm finding it actually hard to kind of remember his voice and stuff like that.
Mm,
Um, and I feel tremendous guilt over it, and I'm sorry I didn't, make more videos or something so I'd have his voice, but I'll be thinking like that.
correct.
Nobody thinks like that.
And then, especially at a young age, you wouldn't think he'd be
No.
taken. But I would find myself now, for argument's sake, if I had a really good day and something went really well for me, I'd go up to my dad's grave and I'd stand there and wipe a tear out of my eye. And if I had a bad day, I'd go up to my dad's grave and I'd stand there and wipe a tear out of my eye. My dad is dead since 1992. So to just remember that, or do you have one, I suppose, people that can't be replaced as time goes on and,
No,
you know,
they can't be replaced, and
mm,
and if you're lucky to have both your parents, and doesn't matter what problems you have or what rows you've had or whatever, just put it all to one side, because I'm telling you now,
Life's too short.
life
isn't
is
it?
too
Yeah, isn't
short,
it? Yeah, yeah,
and
big
you
time.
could wake up tomorrow morning and something big happen.
Yeah,
You could lose that person you love,
in an
and
instant.
in an instant. And I'm telling you now, there's no bringing that person back. There really isn't. Like, and you give anything, and I mean anything, in I would, to bring him back,
Like, yeah,
To
yeah.
bring any love person.
any loved person back.
Uh,
Mm.
But you know, they're not coming back.
and I often saw myself, for somebody like yourselves, maybe they would have had a funeral with your dad, and it could be 3 years or 4 years down the road. And we could be sitting in the pub having a few drinks, and maybe music in the background would come on, and a song, for argument's sake, like To Dance with My Father, would come on. And the two of you just stand up and walk out.
Oh yeah, I've been places where a song has come on or it's been played at his funeral, and I've often been in a pub or something, where a song has come on that remind me of him, and I'd actually start wrong crying.
Mm,
I'd have to walk out.
yeah,
And I'm saying, no, this is actually too much. I can't actually do it. And even if a song or anything comes on the radio, or even like, say, the other day, for instance, where we're all sitting down and Dad loved the program, The Deadliest Catch. It was all about fishing and fishermen and stuff, and out at sea. And that came on, and I just find it so hard. I can't watch that.
great.
I actually can't.
Yeah, yeah,
Just it's too raw. It's just because I used to always watch that with Dad. I
yeah,
even bought him the box set for Christmas, and he loved it,
yeah.
loved it. But it's too hard. Some them little things are kind of a little bit raw still. But like I said, like, we're all learning to adapt. We're not going to ever forget him, but we're just kind of learning to, I suppose, figure out for ourselves the new version that we're kind of becoming, and the life that still has to go on, even though you might want it to go on and you might just want it, your dad, but like life still goes on, so we have no other choice but to kind of just get on with it as best we can, and each day remember, like, put your best foot forward. Like, that's all we can do, and that's all anyone can do.
Yeah. They have a great saying. They even probably said it during the mass. I often hear it in church. I obviously listen to a lot of funeral masses, but they have a great saying. They say that life has changed, not ended.
Yeah, and that's actually a brilliant saying, and definitely I'd say when you lose a loved one, your life does change, but it doesn't end. But you don't forget them. You don't forget them, and you don't want to forget them. And I'll never, I'll never ever forget my dad, because I wouldn't be the person I am without my dad.
Mm.
Um, I love the bones of him.
And in fairness, if you gave you his outlook on life, that would be a wonderful gift on its own.
And his outlook always was on life, be kind to people, people, respect your elders. Money comes, money goes. Once you have, food in the presses, your bills paid, everything else, he said,
Yeah.
Emma,
But that was a great outlook
yeah,
in fairness. That was,
fall into
yeah,
place.
great.
He was a big believer in getting the essentials right,
Yeah,
and then everything else after that, he says, will all fall into place.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
A brilliant outlook in fairness. I remember my own dad used to always say one of the things he used to drill into us was to be honest.
Mm.
Yeah. And he'll tell you, if
Don't lie.
don't
Yeah,
lie.
yeah,
Don't
correct.
lie.
Just be honest, he used
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing Dad hated anyway was lying.
Even
Like that.
talking behind his back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big thing.
I
Yeah.
always remember the day, like, we were living down in Chapel Lane, and Dad used to smoke, but he used to fall asleep at the in the sitting room downstairs. So he's there looking at me. But anyway, like, I used to sneak in and take fags out of his box. I used to smoke them. And Daddy had this thing about the number 13, superstitious. So if he had 13 fags left in his box, he'd have to go and buy another box because he'd go crazy.
Yeah.
But at one day anyway, he knew well he went to sleep with 13 fags. Came back, there was 10 fags. I said, "Jeez, I didn't smoke 3 fags. Hardly smoked them in my sleep, like. Didn't even realise I was awake smoking. Where did the fags come?" I think he kind of knew. So anyway, he brought me into the room. I said, "Emma, did you see them fags?" "God, Daddy, no, I didn't." "Jeez, what are you doing smoking?" I said, "That's horrible." "Did you see the fags, Emma?" "No, Daddy, I didn't." "Emma, did you see the fags?" "No, Daddy, I didn't." "Well, where are they then?" "God, Daddy, you must have smoked them. I don't know where they are. Maybe you gave them to the neighbours or something." "No, Emma, I didn't." I said, "Jesus, I don't know." He says, "Where's the lighter?" And I said, "Oh, that's in my jacket." "Oh, I don't know, Daddy."
Brilliant.
So he caught me out anyway, and I got a telling off, but it was all right then.
Exactly. You got over reasonably fast.
He did, yeah, he did.
They're wonderful memories to have. They're, like you said, they're what keep you going, aren't they, afterwards? And
Well, memories is all you do have when a person
right,
goes.
and you had loads of lovely photos, I remember, as well of them.
Yeah, we did. Like, jeez, we were trying to pick out photos, and like, people were giving you in photos left, right, and centre, and you were trying to pick out the best
Best ones,
ones, and
yeah.
you're trying to include everyone in them, and
Didn't want to forget anyone.
yeah, but like, photos are something,
It's all we have now.
it's
It's
all you
photos.
have,
Right,
yeah.
that's what you
It's
end
all
up
we
at
have
the end.
now.
It's just photos and memories.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's kind of sad, though, in a way, like, it's
That's
all
why
you've
I always
left.
take photos now. Like, yeah,
yeah.
that's all we have. Just keep taking photos of everything. Could be anything.
And then you see, you were obviously expecting
Yeah.
that we'd be sitting down and have this
Oh,
conversation in 30 years' time.
yeah.
That was
He's
your,
be 60 then.
yeah, but that was your kind of honest expectation, wasn't it? You
I know,
expected
yeah.
that you'd have them for another 30 years or whatever the case
Yeah,
may be. You didn't expect to lose them so young.
no, you don't ever think you're going to lose, someone so big in your life, like, so young. Like, I was only still in me. I was like late 20s, like, and I laughing. But like, you always think they're always going to be there forever.
Correct.
So it's a big wake up call when they're not always going to be there forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's you know, he's just missed. He's just really missed.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Done, ladies. Thanks for sharing your story. And I know it'll bring comfort and help to someone else who's maybe facing the same ordeal and maybe not able to talk about it. The fact that you were able to sit down and talk about it and relive his memory as well at the same time.
It's actually comforting. I actually thought, like, it'd be, you know, I thought
Worked up.
I was really worked up. Like, I was,
Yeah.
I was really anxious, and I was
What
really,
questions were going to be asked?
yeah, and I didn't want to leave out anything that was big. And then, but think actually overall actually went very well, and
Yeah.
thank you, Eamon, for
Oh,
inviting
thanks,
us in
ladies.
because like you've actually brought comfort to us, again,
Good.
again.
And like I said to you, it's nice for me to know too that there were certain things maybe that went on. For argument's sake, you might say, um, you didn't bring us up enough water or something or whatever. And it's
Oh
nice for me,
God, Eamon,
but it's
no.
just nice to hear these little things that.
You came up and beyond, I'd say.
Yeah, you did more than enough, Eamon. Like, Jenny, like we could never fault you, and
No.
we never would fault you, and we would never let anybody say a bad word about you
Fair play.
because
Speak your praises.
yeah,
Mm.
And don't I suppose we didn't really know each other that well at the beginning of the funeral, but we kind of end up friends at the end of it, don't
we
we? Because
actually did,
we
yeah.
go through a journey together, don't we?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I was only saying that to Harry actually there the other day, and I was like when you see, like we wave at each other, and we talk, and we, have a chat or whatever. And you wouldn't think that, like, you keep in contact with a funeral director that
yeah,
that when made the arrangement for your dad's funeral.
yeah.
But you saw us at our lowest.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
suppose, I suppose, yeah.
What
And to
helped
us,
us as well then
and to
in
us,
the
then I
end.
suppose, it's every day. It's not every day, but it's what we go through and what we do. And I often said, even if it's somebody close to us or belong to us, you still kind of stand back to a certain extent and you put all the arrangements in place. But you do definitely notice when people are genuinely upset. I always said you'd actually notice when people are genuinely upset, and you notice when people have regrets. You can actually see it. It stands out. We can see it. But I could see it with G. It was just broken hearted. Absolute broken hearted.
Good
Yeah,
hearted.
absolute. I could see it a mile away. Yeah.
it was just pure and utter devastation.
Yeah.
It was just he was here 1 minute
Gone.
and he was gone the
On the
next.
next. Yeah.
He
We weren't expecting to be burying him. I know he's in hospital and he was sick, but we weren't expecting to be putting him 6 feet down.
Right. At
no,
that age, you
At
wouldn't.
that
yeah.
Yeah.
age,
At that age, you
no.
wouldn't.
Like we
So,
were like when he was sick, he was sick on the Tuesday morning. Mom rang me. She's like, Emma, she said, Dad, there's something wrong with Dad. She said, like, he's looking at me as if he doesn't know me. And then, like, he's looking for his vape, his thing for he smokes. And I handed it to him. And he's there, what's this? He doesn't know what's going on. He said, and now his face is drooped and he's dribbling and stuff. Like, he didn't know what he wasn't making sense. I said, God, Mammy, that doesn't sound right. I said, I'll come over. She's like, Emma, he won't go into the doctor. He's just refusing. So I went over and I said, me and Joe, Joe was staying in my house and I brought Joe over and I saw him and I got to shock my life. I honest to God did. He was purple and he was purple in grey in the face and his lips were stone cold purple.
yeah.
Like it was shocking and he was all kind of to the side. I said, God, I said, is that a stroke or what, Daddy, you're after taking? But like that, it took him a few minutes to even recognise who I was.
Jeepers.
So I said, what we do? We ended up ringing the ambulance and they came and took him into hospital and then Joanne went with him in the ambulance and they had to pull in twice on the motorway down to Limerick to resuscitate him. And she had to get out of the ambulance. They asked her to go out of the ambulance and to step in behind the barriers. And they had to resuscitate him twice. Then got down to the hospital. And it was only then actually that we realised he actually was very sick, and he ended up then in the ICU and he just kind of took a downhill slope from there and we were told that he had a clot in his lung and that he had sepsis as well, and that they said they'd give it 3 or 4 days. They'd put him into kind of like an induced coma thing, and they'd give him 3 or 4 days to see if the antibiotics would work. But they came back to us after I think it was the second day. They had a meeting with us and they said, "Your dad's not getting better. Like there's nothing more we can do. Like."
It's just getting worse.
He's getting worse, to be honest with you. He's not going to make it. We were like, sorry, what do you mean he's not going to make it? They were like, I'm sorry, but your dad, like, he's going to die. We were saying, oh, he's not. I said, God, there must be something more you can do. I said, must be more antibiotics or something. I said, God, our dad's not going to die anyway. But he just all took a downhill turn. He ended up getting a clot, as I said, that travelled from his lung up to his head. Um, and he ended up getting the sepsis. That's what killed
And was that long before he passed? Then was he long in hospital?
him. 8 days.
God.
Yeah, and you know, it was the longest 8 days of our life.
You had only 8 days again to adjust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, it was horrific,
Because
horrific.
no one knew exactly what was going to happen.
Mm.
You're just waiting. You were hoping for a good outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
you're
what we were hoping for.
Yeah.
like we were down at the flipping chapel and everything, praying down in the hospital. Like, um, please God, don't let him die. Please God, don't let him die. Don't take him away from us, you
Mm.
know. But
Yeah.
when the doctor did come in, like, and he did say, look, your dad isn't going to make it. Like, there's not more we can do. He is dying. And we were still like, what? There must be something more you can do, because you have this belief, like, a doctor's supposed to be there to help you and they're supposed to know all the answers. Sometimes they just don't know all the answers, or they do their best, but you don't think of that at the time. Like, and we can't fault the doctors or the nurses or anybody that cared for Daddy down in, Limerick Hospital, because they were magnificent.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Like, they went out of their way to help us. Like, when Dad actually was dying only a few hours beforehand, they brought up a hospice nurse and they said, look, would you like a few minutes each with your dad, and we can talk to him and sing songs to him and do whatever you want. And they brought in, like,
Hearing.
these little key rings, and they had a heart in them, and you could take out the heart out of the key ring, and then you hold on to the key ring, but you leave the heart with your dad. And we all did that, and we all made handprints and stuff with him as well, on a page and stuff, and we all got them. Like, we couldn't fault him. And then, like, closer to when he was dying, I was actually back at the hotel, because we stayed in a hotel because we wanted to be with him as much as we could. So we stayed in a hotel near the hospital, and I went back up to get a bit of sleep, and I knew something. I had a good feeling something was happening. And then Caroline rang me. She's like, Emma, you may come down. She said, Dad is on his way out. I said, what? So I ran running down the road, and her and Noel met me in the car halfway up, and we went up, and I went into the room, and
Only about 30 seconds, so maybe a minute.
he was like purple in the face, like he wasn't well. And I just went over to him and I said, Dad, what's after happening? I said, it's all right, Dad. If you want to go, you can go. And a single tear rolled down from his cheek. I gave him a hug, and he died in my arms. And
And that has to be a serious comfort. As tight that you were there when he passed. If you were gone to the hotel, or if you were gone somewhere and you came back, he was gone.
I had said to them previously, I said, I don't want to be there when Daddy dies. I said, I don't want to be. I can't do it. I can't do it. But I'm glad that I was there, because I think it would have killed me if I wasn't there for my father's few moments on earth, because it was just heartbreaking.
And it's just, I know it's heartbreaking, but it was a special moment.
It
Special
was,
moment that,
yeah,
that you shared.
yeah,
It's what he shared you coming in.
literally,
You
like,
shared him going out.
yeah,
Yeah.
you couldn't actually make it up. Like, even the nurses and doctors said it. Like, I walked in and I went over and said, "Jesus, Dad, what's going on?" And I just said to him, "Dad, it's all right. If you want to go, you can go." And I was like, he was in the bed lying down. I just hugged him, and a single tear flowed from his eye, and he died straight away in my
Just took his
arms.
last breath.
Yeah.
Lovely. Absolutely fabulous. For him and for you that you were both together, in fairness. And
Um, I was very much a daddy's girl,
yeah.
and there was no, like, I was
Do no
very,
wrong.
I could do no wrong in his eyes.
No?
She's claiming the favourite here now.
You do
I
no
don't
wrong.
know how to go as far as the favourite, but you know, I think any bond between a father and a child is special.
Correct.
Um, yeah,
And like I said to you, I think that was something that came across during the funeral. Everybody, every one of you were heartbroken. Ma'am, yourselves, and so that affection came across. You could see it. You could see it a mile away. In fairness,
yeah, I can. Even the nurses, when Dad died and he passed away, she said the wailing and the crying that they could hear from down the corridor and out into the actual corridor itself
yeah,
in the hospital, you could hear it.
yeah,
The crying and she said the wailing, like she said I think she said she worked there over 30 something years. Said she's never heard the likes of it.
fabulous.
She said, like, it really, she was really, really upset by it. She said the nurses were really upset by it.
And that's love.
It is because, as I said, they're here 1 minute and they're gone the next,
Next,
and then you're left with all these
What ifs?
what
yeah,
ifs, and should I have done this, and should I told them more that I loved them, and should I text them more, and should I went over home more, and should I've tried to make more time for him, and and I'll always have those questions, and I'll always feel guilty about it. I always will. There's no point saying I won't, because I always think I should have made more memories for him.
But in fairness, you have your own family. You had to rear your own family. In fairness, and
Yeah.
you have
I've
Harry, another child as well.
yeah, like we've two boys, and like even they were heartbroken.
I bet.
They were really, really, really upset. Like I mean to say, like even people, it's one of the things that people say about the funeral, like especially with Paddy and seeing him at the grave watching Dad go down, and he was inconsolable. He was inconsolable, and even the months after it, and even the year after it, like even now, Dad or Paddy won't go up to the grave. The two kids will not go up to the grave.
Good.
It upsets them too much. They will not go up to the grave. They just say no, no, I don't want to go up. I don't want to go up. I'm not pushing them to go up, but then I think it's important the other side of it that I speak to them more about Dad and more about Dad's memories, and I show them photos and stuff like that, and and they like that.
Of course, they didn't tell him about it because they probably are sorry themselves that they knew him, obviously, but they're sorry themselves that they didn't have him for longer too. Of course,
Well, yeah,
you know.
and Grode said like um he just say my other little lad like he's 8, and he just say about Dad when he gets really upset like, why did God take the people I love? Why does He take the people I
Good.
love? Why did He have to take my granddad?
Yeah.
Why? Like,
Uh,
what's the reason for Him having to take my granddad?
granddad. And of course, it's lovely that they actually got to see their granddad and knew their granddad, even though it was only for a short space of time.
Oh, Dad would be texting me there every weekend. Emma, if you want to go out now this weekend, go on out. I'll take the kids. Drop over the kids, Emma, there for a few hours. I haven't seen them, Emma, in 2 days. Like, Dad, this is during the week, like they've school and stuff, and even like the dog as well. Like, we've a little Bichon. Like, Emma, drop over the dog there and drop over the kids while you're at it, and I'll mind them. You can go off out there for a few hours yourself and Harry, go for a few drinks.
Yeah.
Like he just loved having them, and they were lucky they actually got to make lots of memories with
With
him.
him. They're probably as mad as March Hares then when he get him back to you.
Oh yeah, because he'd have them filled up with McDonald's and sweets and Coke and
Coke.
everything, and I'd have him warned each and every time. Said, "Daddy, please don't bring them into Fitzpatrick's to get many more ice cream." I said,
Yeah.
or bring them into McDonald's. I said, if you're getting a McDonald's, I said, let them have a Ribena or something with. No, no.
Coke.
And that was the best part. Straight, but that's the best part about it. He said, is the Coke. It's fizzy. The kids love it, but they loved him, they idolized him, and as I said, there'll never be anybody like him.
Fabulous.
No.
I remember my own cousin, he had 3 small kids lives behind me here. And of course, he used to always say to me when I was collecting them to mind them, you give them Coke and Mars bars, you put them to bed.
Obviously, but that was the thing with Daddy. He wouldn't be putting them to bed. It'd probably be their nanny, Mammy, like she'd be putting them to bed or whatever. He'd do all the fun stuff and be the fun
The
granddad.
Coke and the Mars bars.
Yeah. Smarties, Skittles one day. I said, Daddy, I said, you can't give him Skittles. I said, Paddy is allergic to E numbers. I said, at the time he was small. He said, oh, he'd be fine, Emma. He'd be grand. He's been getting them a long while now.
It'll make him big and strong.
He's a fine young lad, Emma. He's grand. Big and strong. Sure, want to harden up his immune system. I says, Daddy, I said, you're not going, it's not you that has to clean up the rainbow colour vomit, I said, because he's had reading that many Skittles. Do you know what I mean? He would just be there like in a hoop laughing. It would just go straight over his head, in one ear, out the other ear, because he did not care.
And he liked to wind you up too.
Yeah.
I suppose he wound him up as well, the same as there. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. He'd
Brilliant,
always wind him up. Now, you make sure and tell your other granddad I'm your favourite granddad. Like,
Brilliant, yeah.
it's just the little things, but even the boys, like character, you can see a lot of that in them. Their personality, you can see a lot of them in them. Even look wise, like I think, especially Grode has a look about him when he looks at you, when he's mad,
For the devilment.
full of devilment. You know that little twinkle in the eye. I said, "That's Daddy." Coming back to haunt me.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not actually gone. Don't have any regrets. He's still here. It was
Crazy.
absolutely brilliant to talk to you. You really spoke very, very well. Fair play. And you spoke so kindly and lovingly of someone, a piece of you went down that day.
Did him, and as I said, a big piece of me went down that day.
Yeah, that's quite obvious. And it's lovely, I think, for people to hear your story, hear how much you loved him, and he obviously loved you, because I say I could see even in the photos the way you were looking at him and the way he was looking at you.
It was, and like even one of like our last memories with Dad was Stephen was 18, his other son, and we had a party for him on the 2nd of October, which was a Saturday. And then Dad died, wasn't it 2.5 weeks? 2.5 weeks later. And in the photo, we have one photo where we're all together in the pub.
And it's very
Um,
rare they get pictures.
it's very
of
rare.
together.
Yeah, yeah.
And even I look back at that picture a lot and I see it and the smiles on our faces and we were all linking into each other and we were just happy to be surrounded with each other. And we were all surrounded by love.
Lovely memories, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair play.
Thanks.
Really, really appreciate both of you coming in. I know you did get a whole lot of words in now.
You never do with Emma, anyways.
It's nice of you to come in and join us.
Right. I'm here.
That is a terrible thing to say.
You said you have dad's attitude.
Yeah.
Say
Of course.
that out.
But I think if Daddy was here, we'd be
Yeah.
laughing like that, so wouldn't we?
Thank you, Eamon, for having us.
Thanks,
All I
ladies.
can
Really,
say.
really appreciate it.